Iowa 2 years ago where they did do gun confiscation drills. That was admitted, so we know this is going on. Stewart, so much happening. Let's get into the food alert first, then we'll get into the Tennessee situation, and then we'll get into your view on this whole FEMA camp activation situation.
Well, in Tennessee, our chapter president there heard from another veteran that a local Mormon cannery that he uses to buy food storage from was visited by 2 federal agents who demanded the customer list of everyone who's ever bought food from them. And the cannery manager said, hey, we don't do that. We don't keep lists. And they said, well, we want receipts. We want credit card receipts. We want to see, who's buying food. And he said, we don't do that either. We do cash and carry only. And they were very agitated and upset and left.
Had the feds ever heard of a warrant before or a subpoena?
Well, that's a good question. So, that's a good question. But Rand went down in person and talked to the cannery manager and confirmed this one. So this one is totally confirmed. It's legit. And so we have to wonder, why is it that while we have on the one hand FEMA telling you to get prepared, and we have Tennessee, running around and doing door-to-door checks to make sure people are prepared, but on the other hand, you have federal agents who are telling us that they regard anybody who stores food as a potential terrorist. We already had the leaked FBI memos that are going around to surplus stores and gun shops, having them spy on anybody who stores MREs, who buys large packages of MREs, for example. And so they're telling us what they don't like. Apparently it's a schizophrenic situation. You've got government agencies telling you to get ready, but then you have the FBI and DHS running around trying to keep tabs on those who are getting prepared. And so I think that's an indicator of both the good and bad within the government. You got good guys there, like in Tennessee. We know that the local officers who are doing the door-to-door checks for preparedness there have very good intentions. We talked to one today. He said, hey, I'm a patriot. A lot of us are patriots. This is not a Fed-driven thing. This is a state deal to make sure we're all squared away. But we have to worry about how that information will be used when the feds come in, as they oftentimes do. They come in and take over local law enforcement and stick their nose in it, and then they grab those lists and use them for their own purposes.
Well, that's right. They're wanting to know food to commandeer during an emergency, and that's not just my opinion. They use well-meaning agents to go out, just like the well-meaning people from the census getting your GPS coordinates at your front door. Now we know that was given to law enforcement of where to send the feds in to hit the right front door and to have the address marked properly so they don't hit the wrong houses. I mean, this is incredible. And we know from executive orders that we've listed here, you can pull them up, where they talk about hoarding of food being something that's going to be an arrestable offense under an emergency. And you're right, it is schizophrenic. It's just like people inside government have blown the whistle on Fast and Furious. Now the memos have been leaked and confirmed that it was to be blamed on the Second Amendment. That's huge. This was a false flag. CBS News now reports to be blamed on the Second Amendment. So, yeah, you've got part of the government saying get ready, and then you've got the other part that is authoritarian, always up the chain, who then wants to know who is actually ready, because the truth is the globalists want us all dependent.
Well, certainly. I mean, look at what's happened to our people and our states. There's been a sucking away of power from the people and from the states. And you have, like Southern Poverty Law Center and other propaganda arms of DHS running around and demonizing anybody who dares to get prepared. We had a preparedness expo here in Kalispell this last summer, and they did a featured article on that. That was a big deal to them that we had a preparedness expo. And so,
oh my gosh, they're buying sleeping bags and water filters and storable food. I mean, ants store food, squirrels store it, humans have always done it, and now being a normal human is evil. The war, depression, all this stuff unfolding, and FEMA billboards saying store food, and every week they've got a new preparedness expo they're demonizing on the Southern Poverty Law Center website. I mean, wow, these are really wicked people.
And the thing about the cannery is, well, you might explain away the FBI going to surplus stores and whatever. You might buy, like maybe they might buy ammunition or night vision goggles to be used in a terrorist attack. How can you explain and justify federal agents going to a Mormon cannery? I mean, it's powdered milk and wheat berries and chocolate mix for the kids and fruit punch mix. Who is going to be storing that? Al-Qaeda's not going to store away.
Well, that's right. The FBI might go into some giant Army Navy store back when they still had them because of the surplus program, and say, did anybody buy like 20 paperweight old, defused hand grenades? Because somebody could use that to try to make a bomb. I mean, that's the kind of thing they might pass out a memo saying, if somebody ever comes in and buys all your hand grenades, maybe you should contact us. But this is powdered milk. From the start, you've got the article at oathkeepers.org. We've got it up at INFOWARS.com as well. But from the start, breakdown, you got the call, you did the research, exactly what's going on at this cannery, where it's located.
Well, it's in Tennessee. I don't know the exact location. Our Tennessee chapter president, Rand Cardwell, could confirm that.
He went down there.
Well, he was concerned. He didn't want to say it was in Tennessee at first, but because Tennessee has been the focal point for the TSA doing random checks on the highways, he thought it was important to let people know that it looks like Tennessee, might be being used as a test case. And so he went ahead and disclosed where, it was a Tennessee cannery. And he just got word from another veteran. So here's the thing: is the Mormon Church will oftentimes let non-church members come into a Mormon cannery and buy bulk food like wheat and then can it in tin cans. They do that because they want all Americans to get prepared and have food storage. And so you have many non-members going into a Mormon cannery and buying food. And so the feds came in and wanted to know everybody, not just the Mormons, but everybody else, anybody who's bought food storage. Now, why would they want that? If they were looking for an investigation of a particular person, they would come in and say, hey, did this person come in here? But they asked for the whole list. It's just, you have to face reality. It's not some kind of benign, they're not there to check up and be sure you're all getting ready. They're not there to make sure you're getting prepared. They know they're getting prepared. They want to know who they are.
And by the way, we have the memos that are public for the last 5 years where they go into all the gun shops and say, are people here buying guns that are missing fingers? And they're going into farming supply and saying, is anybody missing fingers? I mean, how many farmers do you know? I'd say a third of them are missing fingers. I mean, I've grown up in the farming community. A lot of people are missing fingers. Sometimes you're at a table with 5 people, 2 people are missing fingers from farming accidents. And it's just such a wide net where everybody's a terrorist. This is incredible. What does your gut tell you, Stewart, is really going on here?
Well, I think Tennessee is a test case, and that's my suspicion, is that they're looking at Tennessee because Tennessee has a lot of pretty hardcore patriots in it, and they're using this as a test case. But even besides that, I think what they're doing is a trial run to see, what they can do, what they can't do. Do the canneries keep customer list? Which ones do, which ones don't? Things like that. I think this is a precursor to what's to come. And so I urge anybody who does preparedness, you must get prepared, but try to do it as anonymously as you can. Pay with cash. Don't make it easy on them. And then they're making
they want to know who's awake, and they want to know where the food is so they can commandeer it during an emergency.
Yeah, they want to know who's switched on and who's going to bother buying preparedness gear. Those are, look at it like this. If you were looking at a population from the perspective of a future military conflict and you're going to try to crush them and subjugate them, what would you want to know? You'd want to know where the food is. Just like Stalin did. He went and he starved out the farmers who were resisting him. He confiscated all of their crop and starved them to death. That's what he did to them. And so food, denial of food is a weapon of war.
Well, the UN said at the 96 food conference, or was it 97 in Beijing, the head of it said, we will use food as a weapon. You can pull up that quote. Kissinger on the State Department Memorandum 200 said we'll use food as a weapon worldwide. You're absolutely right, Stewart.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And so if you're looking at a future population that is going to resist what you have planned for them, which is S-1867 and detention of American citizens and destruction of our Bill of Rights, then you would want to, if you're a military officer or a federal agent, you would want to find out who's switched on, who's getting ready, who is your potential pool of resistors. That's why they keep track on veterans. That's why they want to monitor who's storing food. And if you buy a radio and go to a ham radio class, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they have a checklist on those. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do those things. You should do all of those things. But just be aware of the intent that they're expressing. They're giving you a window into their heads of what they think of you and what they fear. They fear prepared Americans. They fear Americans who are getting ready. Let
me add this before we get to the few other issues we've got here, Stewart. I appreciate you joining us on short notice with your incredible intel out there with the veterans and current military and police feeding you so much information. A lot of it we get fed the same info, but you focus full time on this. The ATF now, and we knew about this before it came out from our sources, but now it's confirmed. ship guns directly into Mexico and drugs back into the U.S. and launder the money. That's even in the New York Times Sunday. To then blame the Second Amendment. That has now been released, that they were blaming the Second Amendment. CBS News has reported it, has confirmed it. They have the internal memos. So that's a false flag. For those that don't know what that is, a staged terror attack against our Second Amendment. So that's happened. We have a government that's passed a law saying that the military can be used anywhere in the U.S. It's a battlefield, and they can arrest you without charges, and you can disappear into a black hole. So the worst has happened on paper. So there's no more speculating. And you add all this other stuff to it, it's just, man, every generation or two runs into a real bona fide tyranny. And we've just got to come to grips with the fact we've got a really nasty case of cancer in this country politically. And it happens everywhere. And you know, the fact that we're like dodo birds that never have experienced tyranny in the last few generations and don't know how to recognize it, we're like domesticated. So the sailors can walk up and whack us on the head. You know, but that's why we know history, though. We're not doomed to repeat it. We're not domesticated animals or animals that have never seen tyranny before. Historically, humans can think. We can look back at things instead of living it ourselves. But there's no doubt they know they're imploding the economy. They're gearing up for war with the American people. And now that brings us into the NDAA and these FEMA documents we were sent. We talked to the contractors, and I've got other information I can't reveal or it'll give away some of the information we have. But we added into the other documents we have. This is, the cover is illegal aliens or emergencies or tornadoes or whatever. But on top of it, it is for political reasons or bio releases, similar to what we got from the clergy response team documents. So this is the biggest escalation ever in all 50 states of people on full-time pay. They've never done this. Full-time pay in every state to respond within 72 hours to a disaster and have cordons and barbed wire and all this and meal service and everything. So it's on. And this is a real red level crisis. I mean, either the government, Stewart, knows a comet's coming in a year, and I'm not saying that's what's happening, or they know there's an economic implosion coming down the road. So I want to get your take on the NDAA dovetailed with these new Halliburton KBR FEMA camp activation setup.
Well, that's it. It's a two-pronged situation we have. We've known we've been hearing from within the military and within law enforcement that the federal government is preparing for an economic collapse, and that's plainly coming, and they know it. They're just not getting the people prepared. In fact, like we said earlier, they're keeping track on those who do. And then the other side of it is they are destroying the Bill of Rights, and that's the thing. I don't care if you think we're a conspiracy theorist. Go read the bills, and then go read the Hamdi decision from 2004. Go look at the Padilla decision in the Fourth Circuit, even before that, and go see with the precedents that are already in place in all three branches of the federal government. The executive branch, the legislative, and judicial have committed treason and consider you, the American people, to be just like the Iraqis. They want to do the same thing to you they do over in Iraq. Just people to come black bag you or use a predator drone against you. Obama's already done that to 2 American citizens, one a 16-year-old kid. And so they're already telling you that they're going to destroy the Bill of Rights, and you're going to lose it unless you stand up against them. And they know an economic collapse is coming, and they're getting ready for that. They're gearing up. We hear rumors from across the country from police that they're seeing, like, crate loads of shotguns coming in and extra ammunition and things like that.
Well, wait, we've seen the mainstream articles about even non-policing federal and